Howdy folks, thought it was about time I did another one of these. I've had a few people asking when I've been round about the clubs and stuff to say they'd enjoyed the stories, and when we did the festival I sort of got waylaid with that, and I didn't make a note of any more stories. I'm just out for a run in my car this afternoon, and I had this story sprung into my head about a festival I did a few years ago, quite a few years ago, when I was solo before Lynette and I were together. And there was an American singer, a lovely lady called Danni Leigh, and she was on the verge of next big thingdom, if you like. She did some great songs, If the Jukebox Took Teardrops, and Whiskey Was Free. There's loads of them. Seven Long Nights, I think it is. I can't think of it. Like I said, I've done no research or anything. It just came to me while I was driving back. And I emceed a show in at Hull, I think it was, for Keith and Sue Barrett, and Blue Horizon was supporting, and I met Danni there, and she was just the most charming lady I've ever met. Certainly one of them. She was lovely, really, really nice, really pretty, and no airs and graces. She was just funny. Anyway, fast forward a couple of months, or a month or so, I was asked to do a festival up in the northeast, Rockridge. Remember Rockridge in the Marquee? Kevin and Tracy Greener, superb festivals they were. And I was asked if I would get a hillbilly band, like, you know, hillbilly rockabilly band together just for this one-off, as the band they'd originally booked, I forget who it was, had finished. So I said, yeah, of course I will. So I got a friend of mine, Dave, on double bass, Big Dave Greaves, Chris Bell on guitar, the steel player. I didn't have a steel player, but there was a band on the night before that had one who played the type of stuff we were going to be doing. I'd never met the guy, and I'd asked the lead singer, can you put me in touch with your steel player? Do you think he'll sit in with us, you know? So I got in touch with this guy, Dave, and he was Welsh, and he just said, yeah, send me a set list through, boy, and I'll learn the stuff. So we learnt sent him a set list through what we were going to do. We turned up, did a sound check and a run through of a few songs for his benefit. So we'd never met him before, and he just said, I'll be fine, as long as I've got what key the songs are in, I'll be fine. And anyway, Danni Leigh pulls up, and she's like the headline act for that one. We're going on, I think we were a 5 or 6 piece, and she was a 4 piece, but she was quite concerned about, because there was a lot of Westerners there. Her band was basically, obviously with the band coming over from America on a budget, there was no steel player, no fiddle player, and she was quite concerned that she wasn't going to sound like her records did. And I said, oh, you'll be fine. I said, honestly, I saw your show in Hull a few weeks back and it was great, you know. She said, yeah, but you're really, really country and stuff. And I said, honestly, Danni, you will be fine. And she said, can I use your steel guitar player? And I said, well, he isn't mine. I said, I borrowed him from somebody else, but I'm sure, let's go and ask him. So I said, Dave, do you fancy sitting in with Danni Leigh? He said, I'm sorry, love, I don't know your stuff. And she said, oh, is it? Anyway, he agreed to do it, and he did a great job. But backstage, before we went on, there was me and a couple of the lads in the band, and Danni, her drummer, bass player and guitar player. I think they were sat in the van or sat out the back. It was a lovely weekend, weather-wise, a bit like now. And she came, and she was pacing up and down. I said, what song? She said, oh, I'm just a bit nervous. And I said, honestly, hey, have a drink. And I've got a couple of hip flasks with some Jack Daniels in it. And she says, oh, no, I don't normally drink before a show. And I says, well, it's tradition in England. I said, I do. Do you want some? So she shared my hip flask, and I smoked back then. In fact, I think I was on the verge. I just about was giving up, but she said, do you want a cigarette? And I said, yeah, go on then, I'll have one. So me and Danni Leigh were sat for 45 minutes in the back, talking about country music and George Jones. George Jones was very impressed by her when her first record came out. He called her up for her to go on his TV show when he had a TV show. That's how good she was. But she was just one of the loveliest people I've ever met, and she did some just wonderful songs. Check her out. She still does a few gigs abroad, I think, in America and in Europe, and she runs a shop like I think a vintage type shop, but she's on Facebook. But yeah, that's my memories of Danni Leigh, and what a wonderful woman she is. And it'd be great to see her doing a few more gigs over here maybe sometime. It would be good. The Rocky Road Ramblers could back her, I reckon we do a good job. Anyway, folks, I will think of some more stories. Keep enjoying this lovely weather. It's great here. Just a little scan around in the Nottinghamshire countryside, and it's just lovely and peaceful. So going back now for a couple of beers in the garden before work tomorrow, I reckon. All right, have a good one. Bye.